Okay, here we go with round 2. If you have not watched round 1 or know what team that I'm playing, go ahead and watch the first video that I uploaded. It'll tell you all about the team that I'm running. This is round 2, and I'm playing a guy who's running a Guardians of the Galaxy team, where all of the cards work together with that affiliation, give each other buffs. Turn 1, he goes ahead and buys a big entrance for 3. He Fist Shield bought a big entrance. He didn't try to Red Dragon Global with my global, which is actually what I'm going to do right here. So I pay the bolt, and I get myself a big entrance. Pop that into the bag. Then I have 2 to PXG, at which point my opponent PXGs, and then he picks up and rolls. This is a very long game that I had to cut down a ton of time from. A lot of downtime between rolls and re-rolls and decisions. So there's going to be some spots where you see it jump a little bit. I didn't cut out anything really big, just the little sections. So he rolls a sidekick, buys another big entrance for 3. He had the ability to Red Dragon Global there, but he didn't. That one he put into his bag. So a couple of beginning turn errors here. So I'm going to go ahead and draw 4 from my bag, hoping I get a big entrance, and I don't. This is the second game in a row that I have not drawn that big entrance turn 1. Not the most critical thing, but it would help a ton for speeding up the combo. So I end up rolling 7 dice. I get a shield, a mask, 2 question marks, well 3 question marks, and 2 bolts. And I end up spending a bolt, spending another bolt to Red Dragon Global, and buy one of those Hulk outs.
Almost put it there.
And then I'm going to use his Resurrection Global to prep a die with a shield. That leaves me with 4 masks, potentially, to PXG all my dice over so that I can make sure that I roll everything and don't use the bag at all next turn.
Like it or not.
So he draws a big entrance. He's going to redraw for 3. With 3 more from his bag.
If only big entrance stacked, right?
Shakes them all up and ends up rolling, getting 1 big entrance and rolling another one as energy, which is great for him. He has 2 sidekicks now because one of those he rolled. He's going to go ahead and choose to just straight put it out, skip the reroll step. And he ends up having paying 3 for a Ronin. Oh, it does appear that he did re-roll that big entrance just for energy so that he could buy a Gamora. Now, if he would have kept that as a burst, then he could have prepped both of those dice into the bag, I guess. Not prepped, but place them in the bag, allow himself to draw them more quickly. Keeping a mask, and then he passes over to me, and I'm going to Professor X Global in such a way that allows me to have 4 dice that I would be pulling from the bag over there in the used pile, and the rest are in prep already. So I don't take any burn damage, and I get to roll everything. I pick up a big entrance, and I think I pick up that Hulk out there too. That Hulk out isn't going to do me much good, so I'm going to re-roll a bunch of stuff here. See what I get. Still get that Hulk out. I end up with a couple of shields, a couple of fists, a good amount of fists, and 2 masks, or 2 question marks that I would hope to use for masks. So it actually ends up not the greatest for PXG, but it allows me to buy Nick Fury, and it allows me to buy something else. So I could pay 1 for a Black Widow, and I can pay 1 for an Ant-Man, and I can pay 1 for another Ant-Man. I could have also bought Wolverine there because I had 2 fists and a mask with big entrance. That would have been 3. That might have been the better play. In fact, looking back, that would have been a much better, much more solid play to start ramping towards that combo. After playing the last game, though, I felt a little uncomfortable not having characters, so I bought a bunch of early characters here to really to make myself feel comfortable. We will have to find out if that's a good or a bad thing as this game goes on.
What's up, man?
So he rolls and re-rolls on his turn. Ends up with 2 shields, 2 fists, a bolt, and a mask. He preps a die, and he ends up prepping Ronin, which is a great card, a very scary card for a team like mine.
Okay, so I take one. Take one.
He's holding 3 energy and a mask. Deciding what he wants to do, he's going to pay a fist. After paying that bolt to buy an infiltrate. He's going to pay 2 for another one of those. Or he's going to pay all 3, excuse me, for another one of those Gamora dice. And he's running the Gamora that if you take combat damage from her, she KOs you even if she didn't have enough attack to do so. So it's essentially Death Touch from Magic the Gathering on a Dice Masters card. So I draw 4, and that was the 4 that I had prepped from last turn, or put in the bag from last turn. Rolling them, I roll a lot of energy, and I roll 2 characters, Black Widow and Ant-Man. So I'm deciding that I'm going to re-roll this. End up landing one of them. I get the Nick Fury, but I don't get the second Ant-Man to land, which is fine. Pay 1 to field the Black Widow, and then I field the other one for free, and then I pay 1 to field the Nick Fury. I have 3 that I'm going to pay to buy that infiltrate just straight up, not using Red Dragon Global at all. And I then choose to attack with both Ant-Man and Black Widow, and he chooses to block with both of his sidekicks. So mine return, his sidekicks go over into KO, and he's going to get to roll those along with his other dice next turn. My goal with attacking there is to hope that his board remains kind of clear and open. Unfortunately, he ends up rolling both of his characters, and both at strong sides of the face. He buys another Ronin, but he's not choosing to put it into his bag. I think he's forgotten that he can do that. And I can only prep 2 dice over into KO, or excuse me, into the prep area, because I only had 1 mask, which means I'm going to have to churn through my bag a good bit before I can return to a good feeling of ramp and having a good ramp again. So 6 dice I'm rolling, and I end up with 1 Ant-Man, and there's another, I think it's 2 energy face on the Hulk out. So I have a shield that I'm going to use to prep a die, hope to churn through that bag a little bit more. Paying 4 for a Wolverine, and I can PXG 1 time with that question mark.
Maybe that was the right play. Maybe it was the wrong play. I don't know.
Now that a Ronin is out on the field, I have to really think about whether or not I want to attack, because if I choose to attack, then he has the ability to let that attack go through and then absorb that damage with Ronin, meaning that that die that I attack with will end up in the used pile, and I have to go work back through the bag to get to it. Especially now with my bag being more full than it usually is. It would take me a while to get that character back. So I choose not to attack. And sadly, that's going to happen here a couple of times, where I'm not going to be able to attack in such a way because of that Ronin. Which is why that is a super rare, and why that is a great super rare. He ends up rolling a sidekick, 2 energy, and 2 shields. He's going to pay all 4, and he's going to buy a Groot.
Back to me. PXG. Attacks.
Okay, I PXG.
No attacks.
And he passes his turn to me, not attacking. He's got a very wall-heavy team. It's very similar to the really old Dice Masters style of playing, where you kind of built up this big wall of characters and kept yourself away from damage, direct damage, anything like that. Protected yourself from character damage, excuse me, and just rushed everyone in at one point when you saw the advantage was in your favor.
Can I redo that?
I end up re-rolling, getting a couple sidekicks that decided to stick around because they didn't want to go away. I have 2 masks here, but I feel like I want to buy a Silver Sable to get that combo put together. But again, it leaves me having to churn through my bag yet again because I can only PXG over 2 sidekicks. So he's going to draw and roll 4 dice. Both characters land as energy. Let's see if he chooses to re-roll, which I think he will. Nope. Yes, he re-rolls all of it and comes up with one of them as a character. He gets himself another Gamora, and he gets himself a sidekick. That Gamora is a great defensive character because she can block and kill KO anything that she blocks. So I'm going to Professor X Global here. And I'm going to go ahead and refill my bag and start working through it again. I drew 1 Silver Sable and 1 Infiltrate. That Infiltrate won't do me much good right now. Deciding what to re-roll, I end up re-rolling the Silver Sable, hoping to get a character, but instead of getting the 2 mask, it rolls down to the 1 mask, which is the worst possible roll. That's the worst feeling in Dice Masters, when you have a character that you really want to get out, it's on its 2 energy side, and you re-roll it, and it comes up as 1 energy. It's as if the game is just laughing at you at that point. So I pay 3 to buy another Silver Sable. I'm thinking about what I'm going to do with this other energy. I'm obviously going to prep a die. And looks like that's going to be what I do. End my turn. I don't use that Hulk out. And I'm left with a mask and a fist. That fist, he is carrying Goliath. He brought Goliath, that's the new Goliath from the Civil War set, which has a fist global that says add +1/+1 to one of your characters, which is a really cool global. I very much enjoy the Goliath, the different Goliaths from this new set. Some very interesting interactions, some very interesting stats on it as well. He rolls and re-rolls. He rolls a big entrance and a 2 energy that he can combine with that fist to buy a Star-Lord. So he's working towards all of these cards, abilities coming together, working as a team watch, and all that. I PXG, and then I draw 4 more. And it goes back and forth like this a lot. But I end up drawing my Wolverine here. And right away I roll him, which really makes me feel good about the next coming couple of plays. So I know I'm going to want to field him. End up choosing to re-roll a couple of dice. Did not get a big entrance, but I ended up with the 2 energy. So I spend 1, 2, 3, 4 for another Silver Sable. I'm trying to maximize my abilities to make something unblockable. But the longer this game goes, the more he's getting an advantage, because the more he can buy Ronin. And at which point, if he gets multiple Ronins out, he can start soaking in as much of that damage as he really wants. Because even though it's a 1-turn type thing, if some damage KOs one of those Ronins, he can just roll it and place it back out on the field, let it soak up more damage. So in order to beat something like this, I would have to present multiple threats of similar damage properties or amounts that are unblockable. So multiple Silver Sables is a great choice here. So he rolls and re-rolls, pays 2 because of that big entrance for one of his Rocket Raccoons. He's thinking about what he wants to do with a mask and a question mark, so he's going to pass to me. I'm going to PXG 4 over, and he's going to keep that for PXG, which is a smart play. He needs to lower his dice count in the bag because he has so many characters that are moving through. So I roll, I don't hit teamwork there. I also don't hit Hulk out. So thinking about what I want to re-roll, I keep a shield and 2 question marks. land the Hulk out, but I don't land the Infiltrate. Not like it would matter because he has a Ronin out. So even if I did the combo right now with that Infiltrate, if it would have come up, he could have just soaked all of that damage into that Ronin. So I'm going to pay 2 straight up for another Ant-Man. Trying to load my board up and present more threats to him than he has blockers. So it very much is playing out like the old AVX Dice Masters style, where we just tried to present more attackers than opponents had blockers. And I'm going to pass in my turn. I have a shield there. I think I already prepped a die, so that shield is going to serve me no purpose. 3 question marks though, so I can do a lot of PXG, which will thin my bag out later, which is great for me. He's going to roll a lot of dice, and he just keeps getting characters, which is good for him, not so much for me.
That's the kind of thing that I just sit there and think about, like the one misplay right there. It's just such a silly.
So more characters are coming out for him, and I'm at a severe disadvantage because all of his characters work well together, and he has more, or at least the same amount. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 versus his 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it's even. Now it's 8 to 7, and he is certainly on a track to outpace me with characters. He buys another Ronin, which is very smart. So he's got a really full board. These are the kind of games that I do not enjoy playing because they are so grueling. So I draw 4. I take what was in prep, roll it up, and I get a character to drop. A couple of sidekicks. I should probably keep these sidekicks because there's not much that I really need to buy anymore. Outside of buying another Wolverine, which would be great, there's not much that I would really need to buy. Keep the 2 mask side on one of the Silver Sables to further thin out my bag, hopefully to reroll all of these characters. I end up with 4 masks on Silver Sables, which is something I actually don't want. Spin down 1 mask and pay all of that to buy a Hulk. And I think this is a moment where I'm going to realize, or coming up, this is a moment where I'm going to realize that this Hulk isn't going to help me as much as I had hoped. Because right now my goal is to ping his board a couple of times and clear it out so that I can swing in with that combo, or with lethal, with just attackers. So he rolls and re-rolls. He has another Ronin on field. Or he will have another Ronin coming up right about now. Ronin's a great character because no matter what, you only have to pay 1 to put him in the field. He costs 3, and he has such a strong control ability that if you don't have a Ronin, you should probably think about getting one.
Alright, guys.
Doesn't work in every team, which is a great thing about Dice Masters, is you really have to think about, with an 8-card limit, you really have to think about what your team is supposed to do and what fits that MO. For example, I thought about putting Ronin in this team because he was a mask and he has an ability that would allow me to do some defensive things, but that's just not what this team is built for, my team.
And I'll do. You'll prep it.
So he's going to go ahead and spend a shield to prep a die. No attacks from him, so I'm going to spend 3 to move over 6 with Professor X Global.
Attacks or no? No attacks.
He ends his turn yet again. And again, he's content, because he's got the control, he's content to sit and wait for me to make a mistake. So I'm rolling a ton of stuff here.
Combo does not land.
I roll a Silver Sable finally.
Not having a good day.
I roll the Hulk right away. And I have a bunch of energy with which to field both characters, or all characters.
Okay, what do I need?
So I have 2 fists, and I really like that Infiltrate. But the Infiltrate doesn't show up yet again. So I'm going to pay a fist for each of those characters to field them. Have 4 energy here with regards to the generic energies that came up. Got a shield. And this is the moment where I realize I did not bring Magic Missile, so I can't ping his board, which makes this Hulk much less useful in this team. So instead, I'm going to have to prep a die with the Resurrection Global. Right there. And I really have to start thinking about how to attack into this. So I could, and I do, sacrifice a Silver Sable to make Ant-Man unblockable. Or anything unblockable, really. So I have to start trying to figure out how to hack my way through this. And I'll tell you this, figuring out that I had brought Hulk but I didn't bring Magic Missile really put me on tilt, because I'd played so much Hulk Control before that I just kind of naturally expected that Magic Missile to be there. Playing with it in the first game as well just kind of solidified in my mind that, oh yeah, I have Magic Missile. I just ping Hulk whenever I want with a bolt. Not true. So I'm going to put that Hulk out on Black Widow, making it have Overcrush. He's going to soak up the damage from Ant-Man, meaning that Ant-Man was essentially useless, and I sacrificed my Silver Sable for nothing. But if I hadn't done that, he could have soaked up from something else. So I deal a few more damage to him. Have a couple of masks for PXG. And at this point, he just needs to continue to build a board, because if I can't break through that defense that he's set up, then he's just going to be able to outpace me with characters, because I know I'm going to have to continue to swing, continue to attack. He buys a Goliath, which he did earlier, before I PXG'd there. He buys a Goliath, which is a really strong die for him if he can get it to land. Especially if he combines that with something like Hulk Out or Infiltrate to give it the Guardians of the Galaxy affiliation. Because then it works with all of the other buffs from all of the other characters. Rolls and re-rolls for me. I finally get an Infiltrate to land, which is nice. Have one character that I'm going to pay for here, another Silver Sable. Put the other's sidekick out, and here's where I'm going to try and do some more just chip damage, just trying to chip away as much as possible. Any damage that I can get in is good damage. So I know he's going to try and block all of those, or he's going to try and block those 2 characters there. Ant-Man and Black Widow, he's going to block both of those.
And just attacking with this.
Deciding what else to do. He is going to block, as I said, he's going to block both of those. He's going to use one of his Ronins to soak up Black Widow's damage so that the after effect or the aftershock doesn't trigger. And he's going to block 4 of the sidekicks. So 1 is unblocked, and then he chooses to block that sidekick. So all of those KO, which means I roll him again next turn. Everything on his side returns, and I lose my Black Widow. I did not use the Hulk Out or anything like that. Could have, but it wouldn't have mattered because all of my characters had less attack than their blocker's defense, so nothing would have gone through. So he shakes up, rolls it up, gets his Goliath to land. He's going to re-roll that Groot, I'm sure.
That's okay. This has been going for 38 minutes.
No, he's going to keep the Groot as it is. He's got a bolt and a shield and a mask, a couple more shields, 2 energy, so he's going to pay to field the Goliath. He's going to buy a Star Hawk.
How you doing, guys?
Sort of the last piece of his puzzle in his mind.
Your turn.
I'll go ahead and PXG. Draw 2. Draw 1. Refill, draw 3. At this point, I have a severe board disadvantage, and he's very close to being able to swing out with everything and just have more attackers than I have blockers. Don't land my characters that I need, which is very scary. And there's a lot of fists, which I can do some buffing with, and that was my goal here, to have some fists. But I also need characters, which is a big deal. So here I attack, and at this point, this game has been going for about 40-45 minutes, and so both of us are very mentally tired, and I'm going to start making a couple of mistakes here. Not proud of them, but I will admit to it. So I buff up this Ant-Man as much as possible, forgetting that he has the Ronin that he can soak up all that damage with. If he had forgotten that same thing because we both had been tired, then he would have just lost there, because that was 20 damage to the face. Soaks up the Ronin damage, takes 2. So what I could have done there is spread out all of those buffs to the sidekicks, since he had not declared 2 attack, or not declared 2 blockers on the 2 sidekicks. I should have buffed those. And then given him this choice of, well, do you want to block, or do you want to soak up the damage from the double attacking Ant-Man or the sidekicks that are both buffed. So I throw out a bunch of more characters here. His last turn was essentially just roll PXG by a Gamora. Thinking about what I want to attack with, I have another set of buff targets here that I'm attacking with. So he's just going to straight block like that, letting the sidekick go through. So I'm going to buff up the Black Widow here. Going to give a little bit to the sidekick, making that sidekick a 1, 2, 3, 4 attack sidekick. And then I have to decide if I want to do anything with those question marks.
What are you soaking up? Running.
So I present the board to him in this state, and he's going to decide to soak up all the damage from the Black Widow.
I liked it. That'll be 3.
That's going to go through. That's going to KO. And the reason that Black Widow KOs is because it was being blocked by the Gamora.
Yeah, I almost had running on this team, but it didn't feel good.
Even though he soaked up the damage from it. So he has a clear board advantage, and all he really has to do is roll a bunch of characters. So if he does end up rolling a bunch of characters here, I don't think I have enough blockers to prevent all the damage to me.
Oh, what did you take? You took like 3 there, right?
And he rerolls, and he rerolls all 3 of those characters that he drew, and landed characters on all 3. Fields a bunch of them, and at that point I think he can actually just push and swing out, because they're all just going to start giving buffs to each other. He's going to apply the Guardians of the Galaxy affiliation to the Goliath, which is going to buff that Goliath like crazy, because he brought the Goliath that says it gets, I think it gets +1/+1 whenever you use an action die, and then it gets all the buffs from all the other things. So I think about how I can block here, but there's no feasible way of blocking enough characters to prevent taking 19 or 20 damage. And so at this point, I'm just sort of grasping at straws, seeing if I can work my way through an unworkable problem. And so looking through this game, it's a lot of me playing in ways that this team was not made to play. This team was not made for me to be playing this long form game, especially because I didn't bring a total of max of 20 dice.
This is +2/+2, so right now
my early game buys were really off base of where they should have been. I realized at the end of this game that buying Ant-Man, buying Black Widow are essentially just slowing down the combo, because the combo is an OTK. It's going to kill the other player in 1 turn. So what's the point of buying up those early dice? The only thing they do is provide you a little bit of board presence, but eventually slow down this inevitable 1-turn kill that I'm working towards. So at the end of 2 games, I'm down 0-2, but I think I've finally figured out how to actually play this team and how to work towards that combo. And so my goal in this next game is to land the combo as quickly as possible. Thanks for watching.